Hi, I'm James Leichter, Mr. HVAC. In this short video, we're going to talk about the strategic parts markup system. The idea behind this system was to give your service department a solid, definitive way of marking up parts and materials so that you can make a decent profit. Now, it's pretty simple. If you have the download in front of you, you can see that you just simply take into consideration the price you pay for an item, and there is a markup. Now, as an example, let's say you have an item for $1.49, and I'm looking at the handout here. You have a $1.49 item, you would mark that up 5.5. So in other words, you take $1.49 times 5.5, and that would give you your retail price. If you had, say, a $45 motor, you take $45 times 3.125. Now, a few things I wanted to explain about this methodology is this. Small items such as pipe fittings need to be marked up a lot more. That's why you see a 6.0 markup. And the reason for that is a lot of those items never get sold to anyone. They get lost, they disappear. You know what I'm talking about. So for every half-inch straight EMT connector you might sell, you probably have 5 others that sort of disappear, meaning you probably use them on a job, but they never really got billed out on that service call. They were given away. They could have been lost. So smaller items are marked up a lot more. And don't think that's unusual. When you go to the hardware store and you buy a 30-cent fitting, the gross profit margin on that fitting is really high, certainly a lot more than on some $30 item you might buy. You'll also notice that more expensive items, like an item that you might pay $300 for, you're only marking that up 1.75. Something else to remember, this is for your service and maintenance department. This is not to be used, typically, not to be used for new construction, for replacement work. The markups are just too high for those departments. Now, the reason why the markups are too high for those departments is your service department has very high overhead, perhaps 50%, 55% overhead. Your installation department might have 35% overhead. Your new construction department might have 25% overhead. Whatever the overhead is for your company, and it'll vary, it's certainly going to be a lot more significant in the service and maintenance departments. They have the highest overhead. Now remember, most service departments don't make money because they don't charge enough. Most contractors have no idea just how much money they're losing in their service department because they don't have departmentalized income statements. And that should be a goal of yours. That's a whole nother topic, a whole nother video perhaps, but you absolutely should have departmentalized income statements so you can find out just what kind of money you're making or not making in the service department. I guess one final note, labor. The more you charge for labor, the less you need to make on parts. Some companies charge so much on labor, they only mark up parts, say 10%, and that's fine with me. In fact, I like that technique. I like having labor carry almost all of the overhead burden, and then we mark up parts only about 10%. So a $100 item, an item that you'd pay $100 for, you'd only sell it for, say, $110 because all of the labor burden is being taken care of, all of the overhead burden is taken care of by the labor. I like that technique. I just wanted to remind you, though, that that is a technique that's out there, and the strategic parts multiplier system really doesn't consider that. It uses the idea that labor's paying for part of the overhead, parts are paying for part of the overhead. But hopefully that'll give you something to think about. I've had a lot of clients tell me this was the greatest thing I ever handed to them in class, or the greatest thing that they've ever downloaded from MrHVAC.com. I hope you feel that way too. It is a completely editable Word document. That way you can change it around to meet your needs. Thank you.